FSD will never be approved in Europe. It will never be approved outside the US. Well, it's already been approved in some countries. Canada's got it. It looks like Mexico and Australia will have it or are getting it very soon if they don't have it already. And Europe, well, Europe is the land of red tape, the land of regulation. It simply cannot happen there. Well, I've got Kees here with me. Kees is very active on X. I met him at the takeover in Austria last year and probably again next year. And who knows, I might even see him next month in Michigan. Kees has been following this very closely and getting us all kinds of information from regulators, from news outlets, and from Tesla themselves on the ground in Europe. We're going to have a discussion about what got us this far and probably a part two about the roadmap from here forward. FSD in Europe, it ain't going to happen, or is it? I'm Brian. Welcome to Future Ozza. Kees, good to have you on. Thank you for having me on your show a while back on the podcast. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks for the introduction. But that was indeed a fun episode. And thanks for inviting me again to yours.
Yeah. So FSD in Europe, well, first of all, it'll never work on European roads. And second of all, they'll never approve it. So what has happened so far?
Well, that's the argument that yeah, of course they can make it work in America because the roads are wide and only pickup trucks drive there. But just recently, we've seen FSD supervised in Amsterdam. Well, I live here, and it's pretty tough to drive here. At least for most people, it is. And we saw it actually doing pretty okay, pretty good even. And I think a week after, we saw video of Paris on this major roundabout without road markings, and that's the most terrifying roundabout for the whole continent. So it rocked that roundabout. So
Yeah.
we can cross that argument off.
If you've ever been to Amsterdam, driving doesn't look appealing to me. Walking was a little dangerous with all the bicycles, and me being a tourist, not prepared for just the density of traffic. The density of foot
Yeah.
traffic, of bicycle traffic, of vehicle traffic. It's very dense. The roads are very narrow. And yes, I have seen that video as well. It seemed to perform better than a tourist would for sure. And tourists
Oh,
drive
for
there all
sure.
the time. So that's the state of it functioning. There's this big misconception that all roads in Europe look like an ancient Italian hillside. How accurate is that?
It's not accurate at all. If you look at the state of infrastructure in the Netherlands, I think we are perhaps the best infrastructure in Europe. There is this report that came out until 2020. That's called an Autonomous Readiness Index, and it's a worldwide survey from, I think, McKinsey. And for some reason, they stopped performing this survey or questionnaire. But the first place was like a close tie between Singapore and the Netherlands. But if you, let's say, compare Netherlands roads to Sweden, Denmark, France, it's pretty similar. And it's the signage, it's super good. The tarmac condition is awesome. So in terms of like readiness for deployment of systems like FSD, we're done.
Bearded Tesla guy went ahead and rented a Model S and drove it all the way across Europe. It's not that different. You have highways, you have modern roads. A lot of the continent has been rebuilt since the 1940s. Apparently, something happened to damage the infrastructure back then. History can only
Who knows?
guess what. But the reality is, a lot of those old roads, old skinny medieval roads, were destroyed. And
Yeah.
they were replaced with, the same kind of modern infrastructure you see in any developed country. Most of the country is, highways and roads and things like that. Normal,
Yeah.
reasonably normal conditions. So the question of will it work, I think we can just answer that with a yes.
Yes.
I've
No
seen
doubt.
nothing to suggest it wouldn't. And considering how my car performs in crowded parking lots, I'm not concerned with how it would perform on a narrow street. I've seen it do some fantastic work. But are they going to approve it? What has happened so far to overcome roadblocks? Well, what is the roadblock? First of all, why isn't it just, hey, Wild West, do whatever you like we see in the US?
It was kind of like that. So to put things a little bit in perspective here, I think around 2010 we've seen the advent of ADAS systems like lane keeping, lane centering, stuff like that, and there was never a real legal framework in place. And that got in place, I believe 2020. It's UN Regulation 157 from the top of my head, and that's automated lane keeping systems. Once that got adopted, we've seen a decrease in functionalities and features that we were used to having. So FSD and EAP, it could merge on and off highways automatically, and it ceased to do so afterwards. And there's this other specific type of regulation. It's called UN Regulation 79. Um, and that's got to do with steering equipment. Um, the big name is automatically commanded steering function for those who want to know. But what happened is these two separate regulations they started like colliding and overlapping. Where 157 is essentially a level 3 system, and Mercedes claims to be a level 3 hands-off system. Well, we've all seen the one or two videos on the internet proving that it essentially doesn't work. You need a lead driver, you need no direct sunlight, and like yeah, it's
You
a
need
show pony.
going very slow on a road with a very high speed limit. It's traffic jam assist.
Yeah, nothing more, nothing less. But then in late 2021, we have seen a former Tesla employee, actually. He now works for SpaceX. He started developing this new framework from within Brussels, and that's called UN Regulation 171. And the another acronym here is DCAS, and that stands for Dynamically Controlled Assistance Systems. This is designed to be like an umbrella legislation that allows features exceeding level 2, but with the driver still being responsible.
Hmm.
Well, this has been in development for more than 2 years. And last year, we were this close because it would allow for system initiated maneuvers, which make up like the core of FSD, because FSD makes system initiated maneuvers. That's what we're aiming for, at least. And all of a sudden, at the last moment, this group of countries, the UK, the Netherlands, Sweden, I think Italy and Germany, decided to step in. And mainly the UK and the Swedes have um, the main concerns. What then happened is they split it up. They split like system initiated maneuvers, highways and non-highways, so urban areas. Then fast forward a year later, and that was quite recently in March, um, system initiated maneuvers on highways got adopted. So that will enter into force September 2025. This could possibly allow the reintroduction of features that have gone away in 2020 with this 157 regulation. However, I doubt that Tesla will want to change some of
We'll
their
wanna
software.
we'll wanna write a highway only version.
I doubt it. They could if they would wanna, and I think it would make a lot of people happy here in Europe, because yeah, they took something away from us, and now they're dangling this sausage in front of us, like this is what you could have, but a big fu. Yeah, that's kind of like the point where we're at right now, and they've split this DCAS legislation into 3 phases. And we're now slowly entering into phase 2. And phase 3 would mean the introduction of system initiated maneuvers in urban areas. and that's a point of discussion. And I have some slides as well.
Sure. Should we put those up now? Let's do that.
Yeah, so what we're seeing here is like the FIA, and people might know the FIA from motorsports, like such as Formula One.
Oh,
People blame the FIA for a lot, even the drivers within Formula One, because they make terrible rules. And this is actually the first time I've seen a statement from the FIA regarding self-driving. And here you see here, like the first quote is FIA may be concerned about the questions posed as they place a one-sided emphasis on the driver's role and responsibilities. The focus is primarily and almost exclusively on HMI. HMI stands for human machine like interaction
hmm
and human factors. So what this essentially entails is like if this system wants to initiate a maneuver, it would put it on the screen and you would need to respond to it, making it, I think, even more dangerous actually. And they're kind of missing the point completely here, because with FSD, when it's going to perform like dangerous behavior, you are going to notice that it's doing something wrong because you're monitoring constantly. And it's very easy to override. Just steer away or brake. No
seems
need
pretty
to.
straightforward to me.
Yeah, but apparently they have a hard time understanding it. These wise men in the West regulating here.
They're coming at it from a very traditional, full meat driven sort of perspective. Imagine if you were in an Uber and you had to give verbal permission every time the driver wished to change lanes or take a turn or an exit. That would
100%.
be that would be micromanaging on a level that just doesn't make sense to me. Mm,
No,
okay?
it doesn't. It doesn't.
No.
And if you go
So,
one slide, oh, sorry.
yes, yes. Uh, one slide forward.
Yeah. What they're saying here is, you see here I'm pointing the middle dot
Mhm.
is we're now in phase
Yes.
2 and we're moving forward to phase 3. And in the end, FIA strongly recommends not to move forward to phase 3. So essentially, like they're killing it right now.
Mm.
And it's all got to do with driver monitoring, driver attentiveness, system controllability, and reactiveness. So they want to perform a lot of field studies and God knows what. But yeah,
So what we've seen, and because I've been following your coverage on X, folks, give Keys a follow on X if you want to stay up to date on all this. Is some countries found some kind of a back door? What did they find?
yeah. So they are actively testing FSD in the Netherlands, in Norway. Quite recently, I've posted up like government documents of the road type approval authority there. So they're testing in Norway, Denmark, the Netherlands, Spain
Hmm.
for quite some time already, but nobody really knew. But I found out recently in some government documents, Germany and in Switzerland. So in essence, it's already being tested, but only by Tesla employees under heavy NDAs, of course. So nobody like really can really know what's going on there.
We have seen a demonstration. Tesla did an official demonstration. They got a license, I assume, to do this, where they went to where'd they go, Brussels or something, and put on a presentation for a number of leaders from around Europe, so they could see what it actually does. I think that was a good idea.
Yeah, and they also tested it last year in I think in Michigan, even in the Detroit area, and they tested version 11 and version 12.
Mm,
So that's what they have
mm,
in their minds. So that's not
mm.
really like representative.
No, version 11 definitely not. Version 12 started getting pretty good pretty quickly. And later versions of 12, I would argue, were quite competent.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but version 12 is it wasn't end to end, right?
Correct. It was not. Version 13 was the beginning of end to end neural nets. And version 12 is still running on hardware 3 cars.
Yeah, so like that works. And what the European regulators want, they want to have like proof of code. And whenever there's a software release, they want the proper documentation. So I think
I,
like V12 would be fit for that. Um,
yes, but now are we going to develop two stacks? That seems crazy. And that's the reality is if it is end-to-end neural nets, I can't give you a change log. I can't show
nope.
you the new code. That's not how it works. Um, yeah, that's tricky. Uh, so, if these tests in these countries go well, is there a way to approve it country by country and kind of get it in the back door that way?
Well, it will stay in testing phase, so it's like essentially a testing permit and not open to the public to test. But however, there is a exemptionary path to be taken, and the European Union. So, like what I've been discussing is the UNECE, United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. You would quickly be to believe like that's Europe, but it's also Australia and South Africa and Korea, for instance. So it's between 60 and 80 member states. But the European Commission also has something in place, which they call an Article 39 exemption. And that's there to get exemption from like UNECE regulation or before regulation is even in place to test innovative technologies such as FSD. And in order to do so, they would need to like apply and register. And the type approval authority that governs like all European vehicles is the Dutch Road Authority, the RDW. Um, so there is a chance that if this exemption gets through, but I haven't heard anything yet, is that the Netherlands will have it first, and then other countries can decide to adopt this as well. But yeah,
But the fact that you haven't heard anything doesn't mean it's not happening. I imagine, like a lot of things going on behind the scenes in politics, it could be ongoing and we just don't know. Is that fair?
yeah, that's a fair assumption. And the RDW is by nature very closed off, like
Sure.
authority. They don't want to be out there that much because what I notice online on X as well is like people get frustrated and angry and sometimes even like go out of line in the stuff that they say. So
Yeah.
imagine if the RDW would be more open about this. It
It
could
would
lead
be
to like
constant anger and harassment and
exactly, and it would even like hinder the regulatory process. It is a lengthy and excruciating process already, and people going online and like trying to get data and some information, it would even like it would impede the process, in my opinion.
yes, and I'm sure their committees have deadlines that they will file reports by with a collection of the data and all that. So, guys, we're going to come back with a part two where we're going to share the roadmap from here to the future. How do we actually get FSD deployed in Europe? What does it mean? And what's all this brand damage business about? How serious is that? We're going to cover that and more. And I would also add that I'm gonna be in Michigan, June 20th and 21st. There's a rumor that Kees will be there as well, that he'll be flying into Detroit, maybe driving over with Matt Smith from Rebellionaire. Tickets on sale, teslamichigan.org. And there's also a big shot meet and greet event on the 21st, $100 tickets for that, where you can rub elbows with me. I mean, you can do it anyway, but this is a more formal setting and it supports the show. It's a great cause. Guys, in the comments, what did we miss? What do we misunderstand? How excited are you for part two? Stay tuned for that. And everybody else, like, subscribe. You know what you're doing. And stay tuned, stay juicy. I cannot wait to hear from you, clever robots in Michigan, I suppose.